Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger, and of course our Andrews Bagger GP class. We're off and racing.
And you notice Frankie Garcia has already moved up a couple of places right there. He just took off like a shot. And they're coming around the first turn there, nicely spread out, and people are finding their positions.
Everybody kind of shuffling into those early race spots. Let's see who that is out front. Just lose them in the glimmer of this Southern California sun.
I think that's Cody Gilmore up there. Is that?
Might have been Gilmore, and it is the 374. Great
there we go.
Job there, Hollywood. So Cody Gilmore leading the way out of that Andrews Products Bagger GP class. Looks like that is Danny Spina in the number 2 class, or number 2 position, but leading the way in our Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class.
Danny Spina, one of the greatest guys, and a super attitude. If you were given an award for positive attitude, it goes to Danny Spina. Very, very strong this weekend, ready to go.
Yeah, he's oh, and look at that. Our leader, Cody Gilmore, going down.
Ooh.
Not how he was wanting to start the race, and this has been a tough weekend for Cody. Really been struggling to get comfortable on that GP machine, and unfortunately just wound up losing it. And you can see a little frustrated there for Gilmore. So that is going to hand the physical lead over to the 199 of Danny Spina. Looked like that was Tony Salima just behind him on the number 12. And Tony, we never even got to see in a lap of racing yesterday, actually going down in that warm-up lap. The back end stepped out on him, and he went for a ride. So good to see Tony lining back up. They got that machine put back together, and he's putting that FDR Racing Youngblood Collective machine back out there. That is actually Jake Masters in the number 2 spot on the number 9 Sly Fox back Harley Davidson. So Masters, who we saw in a tooth and nail battle with Spina yesterday, trying to bring that fight back to the 199. And here is a replay of that crash from Cody Gilmore as your leaders make their way across the stripe. Watch the front of your screen, and yeah, pretty much just washed and low-sided that machine, went sliding off course.
Yes, you can see the skid line right there as he went off course.
So making their way back through the back end of the track, watching your leader on screen, the 199 of Danny Spina. He's on that National City Harley Davidson Excellence Moto Design backed Harley. And we were talking to Danny at the start of this weekend about just getting some new sponsorship to be a part of the entire season. He's now not only trying to be a part of it, he wants to be walking away with a number 1 plate.
He absolutely does, and he's not going to settle for anything else but the number 1 plate, and he just loves racing, loves everything about it. Any type of machine, he wants to race it, and just always positive attitude.
So as they came across the stripe last, it was Danny Spina leading the way, Jake Masters, Tony Salima in 3rd, then Brendan Foley in the 4th place, physically on track. Foley is leading the way out of our Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger class. Don't forget, yesterday, the first time he's ever raced with us here at Bagger Racing League. He's on the machine. Jake Masters took to an undefeated championship last year, and he showed, I don't know if it's just the bike, but the rider certainly got the speed to go along with it, as now we are watching Brendan Foley applying the pressure to the back of Tony Salima.
Boy, he is getting him right in position. He's trying to come around and pass him on the outside. He's trying to get that little slingshot effect in some of these turns right there. He's coming around he's just hunting.
And Foley kind of caught in a Tony sandwich, if you will. He's got Salima in front of him and our very own Tony Tucker just behind him. So playing offense and defense at the same time, and it looks like they've got the 99 of Frankie Garcia just behind them as well, making this a 4-rider battle.
Yeah, Frankie Garcia's got a lot of power on that Lifestyle Cycles bike right there. First time he's really ridden it, first time in a race, so that's going to be really fascinating to see how he does on that.
And that is not what we saw yesterday in this Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger class. Once the 29 of Brendan Foley got out front, he started to check out on that performance machine Harley Davidson. So now with Frankie Garcia maybe able to keep the pressure on, this could be a big shakeup at the front of that Super Street class.
It absolutely could, and everybody is within striking distance, especially in these curves. Check that out. They just get up close and try to find that one line that'll give them just a little bump that gets them in front.
Yeah, you talk about the difference in riding styles. Did you see how much of the track Brendan Foley was using?
Yes.
Meanwhile, Salima not really doing a lot of side-to-side motion. He seems to have his lines picked out, knows exactly where he wants to go. And Tucker in a bit of a tough spot as well. We know he wants to apply some pressure to Brendan Foley, but man, how about it? Frankie Garcia making it tough on the 477.
Wow, they're coming around so quickly right there. Look at how far down Frankie is going. He's got almost a knee down. He's going down a little bit further than anybody else around those curves.
He's clearly showing the confidence that he has on this new machine, and you got to think lap by lap that's going to start to grow as well.
Absolutely, and really good to see him out there. Great to have Lifestyle Cycles as a big sponsor of the VRL, so that's good to have them out here. Love all that they do.
And watching that Lifestyle Cycles Harley trying to find a way around the Tucker Speed Shop back ride of Tony Tucker. And he is right on the rear wheel now. Tony able to stretch it out just a little bit, but you can see Garcia charging just a little harder into those corners. He peeks up the inside. Could that be the pass? I think it was.
I think it was, yeah. He positioned him properly and just waited for Tony to go a little outside and just took it on the inside.
Meanwhile, all by his lonesome out front. No complaints, I'm sure, with that. Danny Spina not under any immediate pressure, and this is exactly what he wanted to do yesterday. He did not get a bit of breathing room all day yesterday. Meanwhile, today, Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger win looks to be his if he can keep it on two wheels.
Danny Spina's been real frustrated all weekend with his starts, and so for him to have a good start, to get out in front, and now to start pulling away a little bit, I'm happy for him. He's probably very, very excited. There's a big grin in that helmet.
Oh, without a doubt, and I can't wait to hear those podium interviews afterwards as well, as he is now just about 10 seconds in front of Jake Masters in the number 2 spot. Masters walking away with a win after that undefeated 2024 season. Masters, I think he knows maybe that one got handed to him a little bit. We even saw him turn around as he went across the finish line, kind of saying, what in the world? I thought I was bringing home a silver. So Masters is going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit if he wants to find a way to chase down the 199. And then here is that 4-rider duel starting to stretch out a little bit as they're making their way through Crash Corner. But Tony Salima able to respond to the pressure from Brendan Foley, and this is why Tony is one of the vets that he doesn't get rattled very easily. You're not going to break him on pressure. You're not going to get inside his head. Tony, he's been there, he's done that, and he knows how to get the job done.
Absolutely, and once again, we're actually seeing a lot of patience in each of these riders, which is what they need, because I think a lot of people realize, you know what, this track can step up and bite you at any point, so they're being really cautious. However, they're still all out, finding that line.
We're just about halfway through this final race of the afternoon. Our Andrews Products Bagger GP class, Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger, and Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger classes all out on track. And I love this. This is some of the fastest riders that we have. It does sound like Cody Gilmore calling it a day after that early race get off, so not what Gilmore was hoping for. But man, to have your winners from yesterday, Jake Masters, Danny Spina, and then of course Brendan Foley as well, out there on track at the same time. I think Foley may be able to take a little bit of notes now, say, okay, these guys still got some tricks up their sleeves that I need to pick up on.
Absolutely. Now, if you remember, I mean, Spina was out front, and of course, suddenly the bike just shut off. So don't forget, you can be just 100 yards away from the finish line, and that doesn't mean you're going to be the winner.
Yeah, this thing is far from over, and we talk about those gremlins, and it seemed like everybody had some. We had some electrical gremlins, some mechanical gremlins, but it seemed like everybody had just a little something not going their way. So this thing is far from over. Yes, Spina has opened up just about a 10-second gap now, but because he's out by his lonesome, not really focused on that razor's edge, a small little mistake, maybe an unpredictable gust of wind. So many things can happen here in the second half of this race.
We had so much that went wrong with so many of the bikes. It was interesting going through the pits last night. There wasn't a team that wasn't working on something.
Yep. Yeah, the dinners were short yesterday, we'll put it like that. Everybody had work to do. And unfortunately, our reigning Bagger GP champ Ruben Zaus not joining us here today. So that fueling crew had a lot of work to do, and not sure whether Ruben wasn't feeling up to it or whether they weren't able to get that machine put back together. But unfortunately, the number one not lining up with us here today, which also sets a very interesting picture for the overall championship. You know, the age-old saying, you can't win your championship on the opening round, but you can certainly lose it. Some of these riders with a point to prove. You know, Clay Braun, he's got a bit of a gap to make up to. Now Ruben Zaus having to deal with missing a race as well, as it looks like Brendan Foley is now having to deal with Frankie Garcia, who has made the move into the 5th place spot and is applying pressure to the back of the 29.
And he's really trying to come up on the outside there. Oh, once again, trying to take that outside-inside line.
And this is for the lead in that Barnett Clutches and Cable Super Street Bagger class, Dave. Sorry to cut you off there. I didn't realize these guys in the same class. So Frankie trying to steal away a perfect score so far this weekend for Foley.
And you know, Frankie would just love to just come out here. After last night he was racing up in Ventura, comes down here, and he would love to just take that win.
You never know who's going to line up, even on our doubleheader weekends of Bagger Racing League. And Garcia says Sunday is his day as he is starting to apply the pressure to Foley. Now, don't forget, Brendan Foley, relatively new to the BRL world. He does do some stunt riding on Harleys and then comes from an off-road motorcycle racing background. But in these kinds of conditions, hot under pressure, you got to think Garcia's maybe got the upper hand.
And, you know, Garcia hasn't ridden on a bagger for quite a while, so this is the first time he's been racing on a bagger for a long, long time. But he seems completely comfortable and right at home, and you're seeing him just looking for that line. He's just looking for that little bit of weakness, waiting for that moment when Brendan Foley just makes a mistake, and he's going to take it right there. Look at that. He is just following just... In these straightaways, you're doing 120 miles an hour, and you were following this guy so close, waiting for just a hiccup.
Yeah, it comes down to a game of inches out here, and it's so crazy to talk about that. You know, 2.68 miles a lap, over 120 miles an hour at some point. Meanwhile, they are mere feet, inches apart in some spots. It just shows the level of competition that we have out here. Is you see Garcia grabbing a handful of that Lifestyle Cycles Harley, pulls up to the rear wheel up to 29 again. You saw he got a little bit of shake there. He's hard on those brakes. Garcia is pushing it. He wants that number one spot.
He absolutely does. He is going to do everything he can to get by Brendan Foley and just try to keep himself in that striking position to where all it takes is one little mistake.
And not quite the same success that we saw yesterday for the 718 of Jake McGuire. So things kind of turning around a bit for him. Meanwhile, Foley finds himself still holding on to the lead on that performance machine-backed Harley-Davidson. But how long can he keep up the pressure from Frankie Garcia? Looks like he responded a little bit. Garcia going to go back, try to pick out a spot, get this thing done as we're getting into the closing few laps. It is still the 199 of Danny Spina out front. Masters kind of in no man's land, stuck in between. Got a little over a 10-second gap both in front and behind him. So meanwhile, Tony Salima, a little bit of a similar situation. Not anybody really right in front of him. There you see him at the bottom of your screen as we take this Bridgestone live drone. As once again, look at the line selection from Garcia. He's never following directly behind Brendan Foley. He's peeking to the outside. He cuts a little bit tighter on some of these exits. He is desperately trying to find something that Foley hasn't got figured out.
And, you know, for Foley, that's the mental fatigue with he's on the left, he's on the right, he's on the left. And so you're having to protect both sides of the bike, and it plays with your mind. And and that's what Frankie's doing right now. There's some mind games going on out there.
Well, it's not just getting physically exhausting, it's mentally exhausting as well, because there is only one lap of racing. Your leader right there on screen, the 199 of Danny Spina, has taken the white flag here in this Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class, our Andrews Products Bagger GP class, and Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger all out on track right now. But man, how about it? A breakout weekend for Danny Spina. Multiple podium rides, and got to think those new sponsors that jumped on board with him going to be very excited as he is trying to take his National City Harley-Davidson Excellence Moto designed ride to the top step of the podium. Just one more trip around this Chuckwalla Valley Raceway. We'll be celebrating with Rob Bidas shortly.
As long as he does it under power, he'll be happy, because that'll be a change from yesterday.
Yeah, this is a guy we cannot say anything until he's across the line, because it just when we thought we had seen it all,
it was sheer force of will that actually brought the bike across yesterday with no motor going, just an electrical glitch. But he's running smooth today.
Well, Spina wasn't giving up. He'd have pushed that thing across the line if he had to.
Absolutely, he would have.
Trying to bring it home in the closing couple of corners for the 199 of Danny Spina here in the Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class. Got a little bit of lap traffic just in front of him. Gonna try to tuck back underneath, and just a corner or so to go. And let's see, he's still under power, and it's going all the way. There it is, the 199 of Danny Spina, gonna grab the win in your Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class aboard that National City Harley-Davidson Excellence Moto designed ride. The battle rages on for the win in your Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger class. Look at this, Dave. They're pulling up alongside the final few corners.
Frankie's keeps going with that outside, then the inside, and he is just looking for an opening here. Brendan Foley doing a great job of playing defense and blocking on this, but boy, Frankie is right there.
Riding a wide bike. Let's see, Garcia running out of time. Is he going to be able to do it? Exiting that final corner. It's a drag race to the finish line, and it looks like the streak stays alive. Brendan Foley going to grab the win in your Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger class, just in front of Frankie Garcia. And it does look like Jake Master is going to cross the line second out of your Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class, with Tony Salima going to round out the podium. And you see those two riders high-fiving, Frankie Garcia and Brendan Foley. That was a fun one to watch, let alone to be a part of.
You know, it's so amazing to watch, with such a great race, and there's so much respect between the two of them.
Well, let's break down exactly how this race went to close out round number 2 with our Alpine Star Rapid Replay. Take a look off the start, our long anticipated race of the afternoon, and looked like it was Cody Gilmore jumping out front early, and we thought that might be all she wrote. Gilmore looking very strong yesterday, but just a small mistake causes Gilmore low side to go sliding off the track, and unfortunately having to call it a day early out of that Bagger GP class. Meanwhile, that set the stage for one heck of a ride in our Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class. Danny Spina got into that number 1 spot and started to ride away. This was the battle on screen that we enjoyed for several laps. Tony Salima out of that bagger, the Pirelli Pro Stock class, battling with some of our Super Street Bagger leaders. There you see Brendan Foley applying the pressure, and then back there just a couple of spots, Frankie Garcia driving through the night, coming to race with us here this morning for the Bagger Racing League after American Flat Track yesterday. And he says, man, I knew how to do it out there yesterday. I know how to get the job done here today as well.
Truly impressive ride with, on a bike that he's only spent about 40 minutes on, and a track that's new to him as well, and to come out here and do that, to watch the other riders, to climb the lines, to get his own, and yet still ride his own ride, and choose to continually figure out the track, and he was within striking distance the whole time.
Yep, just came up short of the win. Foley able to hang on by about a bike length or so, but meanwhile, no bike problems this time. Those gremlins are gone, and Danny Spina getting a win in your Pirelli Pro Stock Bagger class. Brendan Foley going to bring things home in that Barnett Clutches and Cables Super Street Bagger class. Here is your Alpine Stars top 10. Danny Spina, Jake Masters, and Tony Salima crossing the line physically 1, 2, and 3, with Brendan Foley and Frankie Garcia in that 4th and 5th place spot. Tony Tucker brings it home in 6th place with Jake McGuire, Carl Schlack, Mike Corey, and Sean Hoffman, your top 10.